Good afternoon, Rotarians. Thank you for coming today. I think we have a great program today. The main speaker is our district governor, and she has many interesting things to say to us. But before we get on with that, we're going to start in our normal way with a reflection from Keith Burwell, and remain standing as R.C. Young leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you're, won't mess you up there.
Nope.
If you're not aware, today is National Bow Day. So if you look around, see, I don't see if we got any guys wearing bow ties or ladies with bows in their hair. Oh, Kevin is. Oh, okay. And also today is, for my heart, National Soft Ice Cream Day. I could do that every day. But finally, today is also National Aviation Day, and I have an affinity for that since my son seems to want to jump in the middle out of a perfectly good airplane. But listen to these words about aviation and taking flight as Rotarians. Almighty, we praise you for being the creator and sustainer of adventure. You have invited us into this wide-eyed adventure of following the divine in each of us. Prepare our steps, provide the way, silence our trepidations, boost our faith, raise our courage, increase our resolve. Break the false spirit of fear over our life. Remind us of our true adventure of flight and your identity, our spiritual birthplace. You knew the very best option for this world to our great surprise, and this is who you are, and we are your children. With this same divine embedded in each of us, breathe the wind of your yes over us. Give us a Rotarian heart, daring to dance upon the deep and in the sky, knowing with certainty that you are with us, and Almighty, able to save us. Do not withhold the fullness of your adventure available to each of us. Expand our trust, enlarge the boulders of our boldness, for you are our personal bravery in this adventure and flight. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to
to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all. As we get underway, I would like to thank Stapleton Insurance for sponsoring all of the August meetings. Thank you very much. As is our custom, I'd like to welcome visiting Rotarians. John Irwin, are you going to be doing that?
Yes.
Okay, a lot of pressure here.
President Tim, we have many visiting Rotarians today, and if the visiting Rotarians could stand until President Tim has a chance to recognize you, that would be great. And the visiting Rotarians include Molly Pearson from Detroit, and also Fred. We have Jerry Peacock from Waterville, Paul Smith from the Reynolds Corners Club, Rosemary Rowney, Marcia Lane from Ann Arbor, Ibra Mansby from Ann Arbor Club, Melissa Tansey from Maumee, Allison Glover from Perrysburg, Henry Johnson from the Ann Arbor Club, Mark Makalinsky from the Ann Arbor Club, and David Dennis from the Reynolds Corners Club, and also Dennis Thayer from the Reynolds Corner Club. That, President Tim, is our visiting Rotarians today.
Thank you. I know that we have many visiting Rotarians from Ann Arbor and Reynolds Corners and other clubs that have come in to participate in the peace meeting that's going to take place after this meeting. So thank you very much, and a big welcome to all of you. We have two past district governors, Deb Cheney and Helen Bolanis. Would you please rise and be recognized? Where is Chuck Stocking? Chuck Stocking, you are our past district governor, and we are glad to have you. I would like to invite members to introduce any guests that are here today.
Moore, President of Digital 55 Marketing.
Welcome, Tom.
President Tim, it's my honor to welcome my colleague Jamie Harder, who's with Children's Hunger Alliance.
Jamie, you are very welcome here.
President Tim, fellow Rotarians, I am the happiest parent in the world to say this is my daughter's last Rotary meeting of the summer, and she's going back to school, but Bryn Tangeman is with us today.
Bryn, we're very happy to have you here. And Bryn, we will have to talk about child labor with your dad later. It's my pleasure to welcome to the floor mic past President Dick Wolf, who has a few words to say.
Thank you, President Tim. Last Friday morning, thanks to an invitation from the Buffalo Soldiers Motorcycle Club here in Toledo, President Tim, Marvin Whitfield, Tom Skilleter, and myself were part of a group of approximately 50 business leaders, educators, community leaders who welcomed the boys back to Martin Luther King Academy on Forest Avenue. And you probably saw that there were leading women of the community, was a lot of press. They were greeting the young ladies at Ella Stewart Academy downtown. Both of these were initiatives started by Rotarian Romulus Durant, Superintendent of Toledo Public Schools, and it was a great experience. It's great to see how the Toledo community gets behind their young men and young women to make sure that they have the best educational opportunities possible. So I just wanted to say it was a great opportunity, and I think it's a great opportunity for Rotary to participate in the future.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I have to say that was an amazing experience, lining up and having all of those kids shake my hand and having the opportunity to welcome them to school on their first day. I think that it's a marvelous opportunity for Rotary in the future. I also think it's good for the community. It's good for the kids, it's good for the parents, and it's good for the administrators. I don't see any downside at all. I hope we will continue it. I didn't see him here today, but I hope Bob Savage is here. There he is. Please come to the floor mic.
President Tim, fellow Rotarians, on behalf of the rest of the program committee, this is just a reminder that on September 9th, we will be visiting the Stranahan Theater and hearing from the executive director of the Stranahan Theater. So Rotary will be over there that particular day. Lunch, of course, will be provided.
Okay, so you want us to go somewhere else?
Yes.
And when do you want us to do it?
September 9th.
What time are we going to do this?
At noon.
At noon, so...
We'll keep it easy, same time Monday on noon.
So is there
That'd
parking
be
there?
better. There is parking there. There's plenty of parking there.
How about lunch?
It's even free. Lunch is not free. Lunch will be there.
Okay. Anything else I should have asked you?
I don't think so.
Okay, I am looking forward to seeing you on September 9th at noon at Stranahan.
Those were all the questions Kathy told me you were going to ask me. You're good.
Thank you very much. David Dennis, do you have a cell phone with you?
Yes,
Would you turn it off?
it is.
Thanks. Just a few things to talk about today. We're lucky to have the district governor. The governor comes every year, and it's an opportunity to hear what is going on in the district. And one of the things I'm very interested in, as all of you know, is advocating for the causes that Rotary believes in. This club has made it very clear that we want to advance the cause of lead abatement, clean water, and pre-K. And to that end, we're putting people on the radio. We're getting free advertising and social, don't know what the word, PSA or something like that, Andy, from you. Thank you very much, from Cumulus Communications. It's very valuable to us because it helps us get the message out. When Dick Wolf and others go stand up in line in the community and welcome young scholars to their very first day of school, in its own way, it's advocacy by action. And that's what we as Rotarians need to do, both internally within the club to understand why the stuff that we do is important, and externally for the community at large. So just a little thing, we had I saw a brochure from St. Francis de Sales. Came to me in the mail somehow, don't know, but it mentioned Rotary twice. It talked about Rotaract, and it talked about the funding that we gave the students last year and thanked us for us. In its own way, when they do that, they help us with advocacy. So without beating up the point, let's move on. I have been asked to introduce the introducer today. The introducer is a guy named David Dennis. He's the assistant AG. He's the governor for Area 3, and that's us. He's a good friend of mine. He's the past president. Are you telling me I'm out of order? Chuck Stocking. I hear you're a past district governor. Would you please come forward?
How soon you forget. This is a presentation on behalf of the Rotary Foundation, the Toledo Rotary Foundation, and it's really one of those really great times. It's like getting your dividend check in the mail, or maybe your Social Security check, or whatever else. But it's one of the really pleasures of being part of this club. And today we're honoring and making a check presentation to Julie Champa, Development Director of Bittersweet Farms. This club has had a long history of engagement with and support of individuals with disabilities. And if you want to come up, Julie, I need some moral support here. The Community Service Committee examined a number of grant requests and made a decision to make a grant to the Bittersweet Farms in the amount of $10,000. The grant is providing funding for continuous support of the community living program, providing opportunities for these individuals who suffer from autism to get out and have an experience and develop their capability of living in and engaging with the community. Our Disability Service Committee members, Disability Service, not Community Service. Disability Service received the request, participated in the vetting process, and made the decision to recommend the grant approval to our club board and foundation trustees. And I think as you think about it, I would encourage everyone to stop by a little exhibit out in the foyer here and pick up the brochure on the projects that the Toledo Rotary has funded over the year, the annual report. Really an excellent piece. But it gives you a sense of the magnitude of research and follow-up that our committees do here, that those donors know that when they give funds and support to the Toledo Rotary Foundation, they know that serious requests are going to be given serious attention and follow up to make sure that the project is accomplished the way it was intended. So many thanks to the countless Rotarians who give unselfishly, which enables us to provide these grants. thank you to everyone who continues to support our Toledo Rotary Club Foundation so we can continue to aid in the supporting needs of our community. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Julie Champa, Development Director. Let her tell a little bit about what the grant is going to accomplish. Julie?
Thanks, Chuck, and thank you all for having me here this afternoon. We are so thankful to the Toledo Rotary for your generous contribution to Bittersweet Farms. I know I'm on a short time frame here, but for those who aren't familiar with Bittersweet Farms, our primary location's out in White House, and we're the first farmstead-based program that services adults with autism in the country. So we also have 2 other locations, one in Lima and one in Pemberville. So with your generous donation, we were able to purchase a vehicle. It's a beautiful 2016 Toyota Camry, and we use that to take our participants to doctor's appointments. When they go to their outings, they love to go to baseball, and they love to go to rock concerts and things like that. So there are a few brochures out front if you are looking for any more information. But on behalf of Bittersweet Farm and the 200 and some odd participants that we service, we say thank you.
Julie, thank you for all the good work that you do in this community. The autism is it's a tough nut to crack. I'm glad we can help. Now that I'm back in order, Mark Makalinski, would you join me at the podium?
As long as you get out of my way. I only got 2 minutes, so I got to make this quick. About 15 years ago, Chuck Stocking, as some of you know, I like to ride a bicycle. So Chuck Stocking asked me to do MESA. Hell, I couldn't even spell MESA. I didn't know what it was. And unfortunately, I think we did that in June, and I think the end of April, I fell off my bike, had a skull fracture, had a concussion. Spent a week in ICU. And I told Chuck, I don't think I can make it. He says, bullshit, you signed up for it. So anyway, we started I did the last leg, I think. We started in Port Clinton. We ended up in Perrysburg, and it had to be 100 degrees that day. And we had a headwind of about 30 miles an hour. And here I am, the worst thing you can do for a brain injury, and if there's any neurologists here they'll agree with me, is heat. Your brain hates heat. So here I am on a blacktop, 100-degree temperature, probably 110 degrees on the blacktop. Chuck bails after about 10 miles because he was cramping up. So anyway, I couldn't get any worse than that. Finished that, found out what MESA was, and I've been on with your club for 10, 12 years. I joined the Ann Arbor Club. I didn't know I'd have such an entourage that would join me. Hi, Ann Arbor. Love you guys. I told you the meals are better here than they are in Ann Arbor. Anyway, joined the Ann Arbor Club, so I'm here just to present Jerry Peacock and the MESA group $1,500. I pledged $5 a mile, but we could only accumulate 300 miles, up to $5,000. So Toledo Rotary, you left $3,500 on the table. And I can't, out of all the charities that I've seen around here, and they're all great, but MESA, if you know what that does, we collect used hospital equipment that can no longer be used in the United States, and then we put it in a warehouse, and then we ship maybe 5, 6 shipments a year. 8 or 9, okay. To Honduras, third world countries where, it's like gold. Here's stuff that we're going to scrap is gold when we ship it overseas. And what we're accumulating, our budget's about $100,000 a year, and what that's used for is to collect the equipment, warehouse it, and then the shipping costs to get it to these countries. I think it's one, and it was, I think the MESA was developed in Toledo, wasn't it, by the International Services Committee back when Chuck was still a baby or something? 25 years ago, maybe? I don't know. 40 years ago, okay. I can't think of a better charity that takes junk and turns it into gold when we send it overseas. Anyway, We do a ride, and you guys may be familiar with it, that raises money. We just finished our ride this year. Jerry, how much did we raise? 38,000 so far. I pledged $25,000 a year for 4 years. Or was it 5 years?
30,000 for 4 years.
30,000 for 4 years. See, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about here. But what we do is we have a week-long bike trip, and everybody pledges miles for each of these. And the neat thing about it is we go club to club to club, breakfast meetings, dinner meetings, lunch meetings, whatever. So we'd interact with all the district clubs, which is cool. But it was logistically a pain in the butt because we had to sleep at everybody else's house and get our luggage and our all that stuff. So Toledo developed this day ride last year, and I think that's really cool. So a club in any district, any club in the district can sponsor a ride for a year, develop a route like we did this year in Toledo, have our lunch stops, have support, and then they do it one day out of the month rather than spend the night. Like we can drive to Bryan, or we can go to Vermilion, or we can go to Lima, whoever decides to sponsor a ride. And I pledge $5 a mile up to $5,000 a club. So that's, or I guess 6 rides. So we could do a ride every month. That's what I'm thinking. And it's still a great way to involve everybody in the district. Because one of the joys of the MESA ride was getting involved with the other clubs and learning people. So anyway, make a long story short, am I 2 minutes up yet? I can sit here all day. Anyway, $1,500, I'm out of here. Thanks, Toledo. You left $3,500 on the table, so next year, ramp it up, okay?
Let's do better. Thank you, Mark. So since Mark took all my time, and Carolyn's and everybody else's, thank you all for donating and writing. MESA is a great organization. Mark didn't even give me the check. He bypassed the chairman, gave it straight to Jerry. Very quickly, we do have Chuck Stocking. It's kind of a common theme with the bike thing. A couple of years ago, I said, I can't ride, Chuck. I don't have a good bike. Took him about a millisecond to say, I got one for you. And he put me on the ride. Thank you.
I've seen some of the work that MESA does in the third world, and it really is amazing. It saves a lot of lives. Mark, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your contribution. And now I understand you put together bicycling, heat, and a brain injury, and it explains stuff. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce the introducer. His name is David Dennis. He's been a friend of mine for many years. He's from the Reynolds Corners Club. He's the twice-served club president. I guess he took him a little while to get used to it. He's the Toledo Metropolitan Area Council for the Rotary clubs in this area. Some of you might remember the Sweet Charity polio event several years ago, and he was integral in making sure that happened and went well. Dave continues as a position of AG for Area 3. That's our area, and he's here to introduce our district governor, Carolyn.
Thank you, President Tim. So, who is Carolyn Huston? She joined Rotary, just like you. She learned what Rotary has done in the world, just like you. She served in offices of her home club, just like you. She's attended some district conferences and events, just like you. She found a passion for Rotary and serving the world, just like all of you. She followed some of her district passions, just like you, and Carolyn is a true Rotarian, just like all of you. She loves her family, She is involved in her local community and totally committed to Rotary. She served as her club treasurer for 12 years. She served as club president. She is a Paul Harris Fellow, a foundation major donor, and she has followed her passion with commitment to MESA and Polio Plus. She has traveled abroad to promote Rotary in the world. She has taken a major role in her community, serving in Leadership Lorain County, the Lorain County Community Foundation, and Genesis Lorain County Safe Harbor. She has established the Brian Huston Fund at Lorain County Community Foundation in honor of her late son, Brian, who was an advocate for animal rescue. Carolyn retired from her position of CFO at Superior Electric after 34 years of service. She holds a bachelor's degree with a dual major in accounting and business management. She and her husband, Bob, of 47 years, reside in Amherst, and they are proud parents of 4 and have 5 grandchildren. Carolyn has established her role as a leader in every sense of the word. She has followed her dreams and passions. We are honored to have her with us today. So, fellow Rotarians, please stand if you are able and join me in welcoming our 2019-2020 District Governor, Carolyn Huston.
Thank you all very much. I did admit to a member that I didn't sleep much last night because this club is a little intimidating given its size. My club is about not even 40 members, so yeah, this is a little intimidating. Excuse me. But I joined Lorain Rotary Club in December of 1999. And a dear friend insisted that I should join the Rotary Club of Lorain. I didn't quite really want to. I grew up in Elyria, and Elyria and Lorain were always rivals, so I didn't know anybody in Lorain. But she insisted, and I eventually went and met an entire new group of people I never probably would have known because of that. And the thing I remember, though, is being a member of that club for a couple of years and never, ever hearing about Rotary and polio. And given that Rotary had been battling polio since the mid-'80s, and now we're talking into the 2000s, I thought that was sort of sad that we never talked about it. One of our members brought in a speaker. This gentleman was part of the early immunization trips all over the other side of the world. He spoke with such passion about the job they did. I was amazed. And I knew then Rotary was an organization I could be very proud to be a member of. He ended his talk talking about a group of his friends who had been sent to a village somewhere to do immunizations, and soldiers came in, shot and killed them all. And he told that story with tears. And I realized nobody's asking me to risk my life. They're just asking me to give what I can to this fund to help take care of this terrible disease. My family was touched by polio. My mother has a twin sister. My parents, I was their firstborn. 6 months later, my mom's twin sister gave birth to a daughter. Obviously, when your mothers are twins, you're very close, all through childhood. We were toddlers when our parents took us to the beach one weekend. My cousin got sick. My mother describes what that was like, being devastated for her sister and her child, but also that waiting and praying and crying and just not knowing, was I also going to be sick? We were together the whole time. And I think, I've never known that feeling for my children or my grandchildren now. And I know on the other side of the world that wasn't the case up until Rotary got involved. So we've been passing around. I had a little helper. She was passing around our little jug. I explained to your board, everything we collect is going to the Polio Plus effort. But we track by club, so your club will get recognition points for everything we collect here today, if you are able or would like to donate to that. But I have been very proud. I worked with Tim Ryan when he was heading the Polio Plus efforts for our district. And I became very, very involved in that effort because it touched us. Watching my cousin grow up, we were always close. I remember school letting out at the beginning of June. The next week, she was scheduled to go in the hospital for yet another surgery. I remember pushing her around in a bed-type wheelchair, June, July, August, because she had a cast at her waist down. We didn't have air conditioning in our homes then, so I look back and think, oh my gosh, how awful that had to have been for her. Now that we're both of the same age, she suffers from polio syndrome. If you're not familiar with that, that's like chickenpox and shingles. If you had polio as a child, you're very apt to develop this polio syndrome later in life. It's incredibly painful. She could no longer work. She walks with 2 footed canes, and she can't go far. It's just exhausting for her. So yeah, I have seen polio, and I know the effect it has on families and on the individuals that had it as well. So I will continue to talk about polio as long as I am able to, because I think we should get it. I know we say we're this close, and we thought by now maybe we would be there, but we're not yet. Last year, we were down to like 20-some cases in the world, and I thought, but the number's going the other way this year. Last report I heard was we were at 60, and the year's not done. And I truly wonder and worry because we have people in our country who choose not to vaccinate their children. And what we just saw this past winter with measles, they say polio is just a plane ride away. If you don't get it all, it would only take about 5 years and it would be back to epidemic proportions. And those children will be left vulnerable. So you gotta get it all. If you don't get it all, we've just wasted our time and effort. So we will get it all. I know people get tired of hearing it, but it's still not a job finished. So we want to keep moving forward. I also think back to joining Rotary. Like most, I was involved in my club. And that was fine. I was the club treasurer because they found out I could do a tax return. And I didn't think I would ever lose that job until I finally agreed to be their president-elect. And it was somewhere in there that I had never really attended a district event. And we had 2 assistant governors in my club. And every month at our board meetings, they came back and talked about Helen. Helen this, Helen that, all these things Helen was doing. And they talked about her really enthusiastically. And unfortunately, my husband and I were out of the country for our anniversary when Helen came to town to visit our club. I never met her. But the more I heard about things she was doing, the more I really wanted to meet this woman. So my good friend said she was going to go to Toledo to Helen's district conference. And I thought, if I don't go and meet her there, when will I ever get the chance? I mean, chances are she's not coming back to Lorain anytime soon. So I told my friend, I'll go with you. We rode up together. We shared a hotel room to save expenses. Walked into a room of people I knew maybe 4, and they were from my club. So we stayed, I just kind of hung on my friend quite a bit, and then once there was a little break in activities, she took me over and introduced me to Helen. And Helen, I said to her, this is totally out of my comfort zone normally, but I said, there was a man on the stage a little while ago asking for help. He wanted help with the foundation committee. I've done work with our community foundation, so I don't know, could I help? Helen took me by the hand and led me across the room and introduced me to Bob Reel. And that is how I became involved at our district level, was helping with those early grant seminars. Because of the work I did with him, he was a bit of a tough taskmaster, shall we say. He wouldn't let me talk about anything except giving to the foundation. He said, you can't talk about grants till you've actually traveled and seen what true poverty and need is. He invited me to go to Uniendo, which you probably heard of here, but most clubs look at me a little funny when I mention it. But end of January every year, the 2 districts that comprise Central America trade having a project fair. And I say it kind of reminds you of the old school science fairs. It's a big room with lots of tables and displays set up, and it's Rotary clubs from that particular country, wherever it is, and organizations that are just trying to do good. We went to Guatemala the first year. I didn't quite get what was I supposed to do here, but I listened, sat quietly, met a few people, but mostly listened. The next year we went, I was intrigued. So that year we went to Nicaragua. I met a woman one evening. They were just setting up their booths, and she and I started talking pretty much about everything except Rotary. And she was just nice. We talked. Then the next day I went to her booth, and she's telling me about a program that she represented there, based in the United States out of Colorado, called Libraries for All. And she actually had started the very first lending library in the country of Nicaragua. I thought that was pretty amazing. But later on, when we took a break, Bob Reel had been roaming the booths as well, and he came out and said, that booth up front there, did you see that one? It's all in Spanish. I said, yeah, I saw it, but I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know. He said, well, I went over and asked him, what is it you want? And the woman there said, library books. And he said, well, you should put that in English on the front of your booth. And I said, oh, we need to introduce them to the woman over here that I was talking to. That's what she does, or can help them do. We introduced them. By the time we were ready to leave, we had determined they had a bus, and they would put a library on the bus to travel between 2 schools, and it would cost $800. I said, well, I'm going to take it back to my club. If they don't want to do it, I will do it. It's $800, you know, I can do that. Oh, my club jumped on it. They were happy to help with it. The young woman was a teacher that we had met. She opted not to spend the money they offered to fly her to the other part of Nicaragua for training. She opted instead to take the bus. She wanted the money to go toward more books. She took an 8-hour bus ride with a toddler to go be trained how to run a lending library in a poor country. You don't just fine them for returning their book late. They don't have any money. So that was when I realized finally what Uniendo is about and how that can work. I'm happy to say I've been able to attend 6 now. So I have been all over Central America, and I've made friends in every country we visited. And with Facebook now, we keep up with each other's lives. Never has it come to bear more than this year. We went to Costa Rica for Uniendo. Coming back, my club had put money into a global grant that was going on in Honduras. I had the opportunity to travel down there before the grant started. There's a city of 1 million, San Pedro Sula, and they have a very active Rotary Club. They had written to Rotary International, or to the Rotary Foundation, and said they needed a water grant to improve the quality of water in the city. Rotary Foundation sent a group of cadres down there who were experts to evaluate it. And they came back and said, no, they don't need a water project in the city. They need a sanitation project in the mountain next to the city. There's no toilets. When you walked up that mountain around the little communities, they said, watch where you step. It wasn't because of dogs. You didn't want to walk there. The grant went through, and this year in January, we were invited to come back. And the community members wanted to meet with us and talk about how their lives had been affected by just the simple act of adding a toilet to their home. I watched that first trip up there, a little toddler girl squatting in front of this tin shack of a home. And I thought, that's all that little girl will ever know if something isn't done. They told us about women who look for somewhere private to go and are often the victims of rape because of the secluded location they were in. And I knew, that's just wrong. I'm sorry, that's just wrong. Well, we flew from Costa Rica's Uniendo. We were going to Honduras to have this meeting with the community people. I wasn't feeling well when we got into Honduras. I laid around the hotel Tuesday, and during the night I sat up in bed and I screamed. I thought I had been stabbed or something. I had never had that much of an intense, sharp pain out of the blue. Next morning, they were coming to pick us up to take us up the mountain. That's a rough ride anyway, but I said, I can't go. I can't sit, stand, or lie down right now. It hurts. They had left. 15 minutes later, I got a message from the gentleman who was a member of the San Pedro Sula Rotary Club, also their district governor at the time, and a doctor. And he wrote me a message and said, I hear you're not feeling well. Do you want to go to the hospital? And I said, I don't know. I'm in Honduras. I don't speak Spanish. And that's when you realize uno margarita, por favor, is not going to help you at this point in time. So I had to think about it, and I wrote him, I don't know, and he wrote back, I think you should. Well, when you're hurting like that, and you don't really seem to have any other alternatives, I finally said, okay. He said, I'll be there in 15 minutes. He drove right over to the hotel, walked up to the door to help me to the car, and when I got in, he said, the hotel's very close, but we're stopping by the home of another Rotarian because I knew his wife fairly well from other trips down there. She rode to the hospital with us and stayed with me that whole first day as my translator. I have to tell you, it turned out it was a severe kidney infection. I probably would not have survived the trip home. It was that bad. They took me into surgery. They told me all they could do at this point was try and drain the infection and some high-dose antibiotics and some pain medicine to get me home. When we got home, my sister said, weren't you terrified? And I said, I really wasn't, because I had friends there. Everybody I had ever met in that San Pedro Sula Rotary Club came to visit me in the hospital. I think I had more company there than I do when I'm sick at home. I mean, they're club members, they brought their wives, I saw pictures of grandchildren, younger guys brought their girlfriends so I could meet them. It was truly, I never felt alone. And it was fine. The doctor spoke English, and I had friends there to help if I needed a translator. So when they said this year Rotary Connects the World, I thought, boy, does it ever, because I could not imagine being that sick in a foreign country where I don't speak the language and coming away going, no, I really wasn't terrified at all. I had great care and wonderful fellowship with friends. So I truly believe that. But you know, throughout all that, I always go back and think, if I had not worked up the nerve to say, I'll go to that district conference, where would my life be now? Because that one decision, and then working up the nerve to ask a district governor, who was that man up there asking for help? And oh, she led me over and introduced him. I said, grandmas from northern Ohio don't typically have the experiences that I have had because of that one decision that day. And my goal this year, I think, you know, it's just a little step to go from our club to a district event. We have over 3,200 members in our district. We're all of like minds. We all want to do good in our communities, in the world. And yet we hold a district event and we get excited if 80 people sign up. And that just strikes me as wrong, because if you're not going that next step, you're really shortchanging yourself from meeting an amazing bunch of people out there that can share ideas with you, maybe ask questions of you. But my goal this year is to challenge every Rotarian in our district to attend one district function this year. We have one coming, well, Allison's here today, and Allison is putting together the Peace Conference this year with Chuck Stocking. That's mostly geared toward high school, college-age children, but adults are welcome too. Deb Cheney is here, and she's working on a One Rotary Summit the first Saturday in January. And what else are you going to do on the first Saturday in January besides take down Christmas decorations? So I like this event because last year was our first. It's not a sit and be lectured to kind of an event. We sit around round tables. It's very introspective. Last year the topic was why. It was amazing, the conversations we had. Why are we Rotarians? Why do we do what we do? But you know, it's a great first district event because number one, it's free. Number two, they feed you breakfast and lunch. And then you're home by dinner. And I guarantee everyone who walked out of that room last year was talking about what a great day that was. So keep it in mind, first Saturday in January at Terra Community College in Fremont. Not that far. And then, of course, it's my job to promote a district conference for next year. And our key words to remember are the first weekend in May at the Bay. We're going to be at Maumee Bay State Park. Past Governor Joe Ludwig is in charge of fun. I guarantee you it will be fun. And we've got some great guests coming. I'm not allowed to talk about the Saturday speaker till it's all confirmed, but you will be getting information shortly about these things. But there's another opportunity to go, have a good time, lounge around a bit, meet some new people, make some new friends. I have a friend in the St. Mary's Club I met when I was lost at a district conference years ago on Put-in-Bay. I couldn't figure out where they were serving breakfast, and she and I were lost together. So to this day, we're friends, and that's exactly the way we tell it. We got lost together, so. But keep that in mind. I think we owe it to ourselves to take that next little step. I never dreamed I would be standing here as a district governor way back when I joined Rotary. It was never something I saw for myself. My club approached me and asked me to accept a nomination from them. Went home, told my husband, he said no. Obviously, I listened well after all these years, but anyway, I got to go to San Diego to the General Assembly in January and met with 535 governors from all over the world. I couldn't believe this is my life, sitting here in an assembly like that, hearing from the people and talking to people from other countries. Truly an amazing experience. And like I said, Grandma's from Northern Ohio. This typically is not our life, So we're not rich, we're not world travelers, we just do what we can do. So I thank you so much for your time and attention today and for inviting me here and such a warm welcome. And I hope to see you all at some point during the next year at an event. Come up and tell me where you heard me mention it. I would appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, too.
And we have some gifts for you. First, we, on behalf of the Toledo Rotary Club and in memory of, or thanks for this presentation, we will make a donation to the Polio Plus Fund in your name.
Thank you so much.
We will also give you a book on Toledo's history so that you can read up and know more about us. And we have provided a very special gift for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next week, we're going to have a presentation by Rotarians. It's going to be Inclusion and Diversity, Building a Successful Future for the Toledo Rotary Club. It's going to be presented by Engagement Chair Maria White and Vice Chair Marvin Whitfield. Today we have meetings afterwards. The Peace Committee, where are they meeting? We don't know.
No, we do. Sorry.
Oh, we do.
It's not on your script. North Cape room.
Thank you. We're meeting in the North Peace is meeting in North Cape, and Community Services. Helen, where are they meeting? Presque Isle.
Peace is in the Presque Isle.
You know what? You're cheating. You read that. Okay, just for clarity, Peace is going to be meeting in Presque Isle. The Community Service is going to be in the North Cape. See? Chuck, where are you today? Save me here, my friend.
It's my job. On this date, Julius Henry Marx passed away. Who knows who Julius Henry Marx is? Really? Groucho. Past President Dick. Here are 8 quotes attributed to Groucho Marx, who never raised his voice, never shouted, was always, he was a wit as opposed to being a comedian in my book, genius. Groucho Marx, I never forgot a face, but in your case, I'd be glad to make an exception. I wish to be cremated. 1/10 of my ashes shall be given to my agent as written in our contract. I've had a perfectly wonderful evening, but this wasn't it. Ice water, go get some onions. That'll make your ice water. If you want to see a comic strip, you should see me in the shower. Are you from Wales? Do you know a fellow named Jonah? He used to live in Wales for a while. Remember, men, you are fighting for this lady's honor, which is probably more than she ever did. And finally, the secret of life is honesty and fair dealing. Once you can fake that, you've got it made.
We are adjourned.